Thank you so much for your time.
Hey, no problem.
That's all right.
It's fine.
I'll start with Guru of Chai a bit,
Hmm.
and it's said to be mesmerizing and an innovative modern fairy tale. So I want to know what are the elements of a modern fairy tale in the play.
Well, I mean, it's based on an Indian fairy tale.
Yeah.
So the play actually, we've been performing this since 2010.
Hmm.
So back then, we actually started by thinking of writing a play for children, and started researching fairy tales and Indian fairy tales. And then we came across this fairy tale called Punchkin, and we got very excited about the fairy tale, but then realized it was way too dark for children. It was very, very, there was a lot of violence in it, and it was like the old Grimm's fairy tales where things got chopped off, and there was a lot of violence in it. We didn't think it was appropriate for children, but the story sort of got under our skins, and we really thought, well, why don't we adapt it to for an adult audience? And so we modernized it. So we took these 7 princesses who were abandoned in the jungle by their father, the king, became 7 sisters abandoned at a railway station. And as soon as we had that image of 7 poor girls abandoned by their father in a railway station, the story really started to come to life. And then, of course, we needed a storyteller. And the storyteller is this delightful character of the Guru. And he's a chai-wallah at Bangalore Central Station. And his life gets entwined with these girls. But the way he talks to the audience is when he comes in and he talks to the audience, he comes in as one of those that I see so often on the internet, these quite dodgy spiritual guides who are using the guise of Eastern philosophy to try and get Westerners to pay up, to solve all of their problems in one evening using Eastern philosophy. And so that's the delicious kind of character, this unreliable narrator that is telling the story from his own life, while dispensing dubious wisdom to the audience. So it's quite interactive in a way, in that I don't pretend that the audience isn't there. The audience is constantly being talked to. And that wall is not there. I'm slipping from telling the story to talking to them, back into the story, back and forth. And there's puppetry, there's live music, magic. So all of the tricks are used to draw the audience in and lead them into the heart of the story, which is still within the core of it is this original fairy tale. And we love the fairy tale because it has a power to it.
I'm a bit curious as to the Indian influence. I mean, first of all, the Guru is an Indian name, Chai is an Indian name, and then you said the chai-wallah is from Bangalore. So is your work influenced a lot by your background?
Well, I can't help but be influenced by it, really. I mean, you sort of write what you know, and my mother is one of 6 sisters. So when I went to perform this show with the sisters in mind, I had my aunties in mind, and the language, the little bits of Indian language I use, not a lot. English speakers predominantly are the ones that are watching the show, so it's not confusing at all. But it's Malayalam from Kerala that I'm using. So Kudasai is a Malayali, and he's a chai-wallah at Bangalore. And my parents, when they retired, they went to Bangalore, so I'm familiar with that train station. So, little bits of life and little bits of imagination come together to make this thing. I'm not saying it's authentically Indian. It's still Indian from a diasporian view, from me several steps removed, but it's an India of my imagination. And I think because theatre is an imaginative art form, nobody has a problem with it.
And do you also think the interconnectedness and this representation of both Eastern and Western worlds are also is very attractive to audiences, especially?
I think so. I mean, my training is from a Western drama school, and so my knowledge is of a Western theatrical tradition, and I know India is well served by its classical music and its classical dance, but theatre itself, I'm borrowing from a Western tradition. And but I'm meeting it with my Indian understanding, of being raised in the West. And so there is this interplay, and I think that's kind of what India's done really well in the past. Has done really well is absorb and change and mutate and turn something, so I don't feel. The wonderful thing about being in New Zealand is we're so far away from everything, is that we're not bound by tradition. And whereas I guess there are instances where I've trained overseas, like in Italy, in mask tradition, where it is very much like you do it a certain way. It's like learning classical ballet or something. You have to obey the instructor to in their form and what they're teaching, and I respect that, but I also question its relevance to a modern audience, and I really want to play with those traditional forms which have lasted for so long, but I also want to make them relevant to me, and to what I want to say. And so I will shamelessly pirate traditional forms and turn them into something that I respond to, and hopefully a modern audience will as well. So often people see me. I use the theatre company was formed on a love of mask, and we use mask in a lot of our plays. And even with Guru, I use a set of teeth. These teeth transform me.
Okay.
Into the Guru. So if I
it's very chai stained teeth. Oh yeah,
that's correct. Indira, you must understand it. As I put on the teeth, I am completely changed. So that's the power.
Yeah, that really helps you get the accent right.
Yeah, that's the power of mask, where it's you, because you instantly saw the chai-wallah. That was your imagination working. And then with my, training with using voice and body, and my eyes change, that transformation is assisted by the mask. And so the mask itself was a training that I learned from Italy. It's an Italian tradition that I was drawing on. But when I use mask for my own plays, I turn them into Indians, because that's what I know. And so I don't think there's any wrong in doing that, because the mask characters in Italy were people ultimately, and people are people all over the world. We had the same characters appear in traditions in Bali and traditions in India and traditions in Italy. It's because the old man is still the old man, the young lovers are still the young lovers. All of these people are human beings ultimately, and that's what I love. When you come down to it, there's actually far less that is different between us than actually what is the same.
And in terms of the music in Guru of Chai, is it also Indian influenced?
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's a Western composer, but he's very versed in Indian ragas, and he's done his research. So we performed Guru of Chai in Kerala, and my lasting impression was that at the end, when we sang the final song, the entire audience was doing this.
Or the tals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So whatever he'd done was accurate, because they were all beating along to it.
You've been a playwright and actor. How did the journey for you start?
Well, I mean, I was painfully shy as a child. I had no inkling to performance. My father, I'm the son of Indian immigrant parents, so I was supposed to be a doctor. That my dad was a psychiatrist and came from a long line of doctors. So I literally went to university with no idea that there was an arts department. I was so blinkered towards the sciences. So I actually did a science degree. I have a BSc in microbiology. And then, but clearly I wasn't a very good science student. I think I graduated with a C- or something like that. And I really didn't enjoy the science part of it, but what I did find that I was gravitating, because I did stumble across theatre while I was at university, but I would just go as a voyeur. I would be in the audience looking at these amazing creatures doing this terrifying thing of performing. And I joined the film club as well, so I was an avid film goer. And then when I graduated from university, I sort of explored everything. It was like I'd been in a creative deprivation tank, and I suddenly exploded into I did painting classes, I did drama classes, I learned how to play the saxophone, I sort of finished up piano exams. I was doing all sorts of artistic kind of things. Now my parents were getting really worried, so I ended up going to teachers college and training to be a primary school teacher, because I could do my science, I could do my art, I could do my music, all being a primary school teacher, I thought. But while I was at teachers college, my tutor encouraged me to do a course in mask. And that's when I first put a half mask on. And I was actually taught, my guru was a man named John Bolton, who comes from Melbourne. He's an Englishman who had a theatre school in Melbourne called the John Bolton Theatre School. And it was almost exclusively in this European tradition of mask and clown and mime and all of those kind of European kind of performative art forms. And I really responded to the mask. I don't know, it was probably that ability of the shy kid to disappear, to actually completely transform. And I saw it not just myself, but anybody who put a mask on. And I was determined to use mask in some way. But I couldn't afford to go to Melbourne. So I ended up training at the New Zealand Drama School. But unfortunately, the New Zealand Drama School didn't have a mask component. They didn't teach mask. Yeah. So I was left to actually make something up myself. So in my final year at drama school, we had to create a self-devised piece of theatre. And so you had to write something 20 minutes long of your own devising. And so I decided to use mask in that. And I created a little piece called Christian's Dairy. It was a love story set in a corner shop, and also involved the story of the building of the Taj Mahal. So Shah Jahan and Mumtaz Mahal and these dairy owners, these shopkeepers, these two love stories fused together in this 20-minute piece. It was so well received that my drama tutors encouraged me to extend it when I left drama school. And that's when I met Justin Lewis, my director, because he graduated from the John Bolton Theatre School in Melbourne. So he knew about mask. Mm-hmm. And so he and I collaborated for about a year to extend this 20-minute piece to the 65 minutes of Christian's Dairy. That was our first play, and Indian Ink our first play 25 years ago. And Christian's Dairy became kind of a hit. It sold out everywhere we played. We took it to the Edinburgh Festival. We sold out there, got a 5-star review. And it set the kind of, I guess, the template for all our plays to come, where mask was core. Even if we don't use mask, we're operating at that level of mask where it's heightened and larger than life, always very funny, but then quite profoundly sad as well. This balance of the what we call the serious laugh, opening the mouths of the audience with laughter in order to slip something serious in. That became the sort of philosophy of the company. And we've created 11 plays, original works since. Some are solo, some involve more actors, a lot of live music, and we've toured the world.
What do you enjoy doing more, writing or acting, or
Acting? No, that's easy. Acting.
Okay. Okay.
I writing, I have a love-hate relationship. I write so that I can act, but writing is very difficult.
Okay.
And that's why I co-write with Justin. Mm-hmm. Because I think writing is very lonely as well. You're kind of left to go into a cave with a blank page and do this thing. So having somebody to bounce ideas off, and the energy of theatre is dialogue anyway. So we embody that energy in the way we create work. And often it's not just sitting in front of a blank page. It's actually working on a rehearsal floor and creating the world and creating the characters. And that's what I love. I love rehearsal.
So after Guru of Chai, you'll be performing coming year. Do you have any interesting projects in the future?
Yes. I mean, we're launching a brand new play this year in New Zealand, touring it. We did a development season of it last year. It's a very intriguing kind of premise in that it's our largest show ever. We'll have over 20 people, 24 people on stage, and but at least 20 of those people won't actually know the story. They won't know the script. They will never have seen the script, because 20 of those people will be a choir. And the choir have rehearsed their songs, but they don't know the story that they're going to be in. Because, of course, when you're working with community choirs, they all have day jobs, and you can't commit them to a whole rehearsal process like you would with a professional actor. You can't ask them to come 9 to 5 every day for 3 weeks to rehearse a play. So we had to devise a way of working with a choir where they could turn up to the theatre 2 hours before the show with no rehearsal, and then just be thrown into the story and be led by the actors. And this is what we've come up with. We've come up with a play. It's called Dirty Work. It's set in an office, and so the choir become office workers, and then the actors sort of guide them very skillfully through the play and the drama, because there is a drama. But at moments, this choir will burst into song because they've rehearsed the songs. And it's quite wonderful, because what I didn't count on is that it actually becomes a community event, because this community choir represents the community that they're from, and the audience is full of their friends and family. So it actually elevates the theatre into becoming this kind of community experience. Yeah. And the story is really lovely too, because I think it speaks to the times where our relationship to the office is very, very fraught because of COVID. You know, that we're questioning why we have to go to an office at all. There's the whole hierarchy of an office actually imitates a lot about our class system, about who's at top and who's at the bottom. And our hero in this story is the cleaner. And so it's a lovely kind of it's a rich mix.
How would you describe The Guru of Chai in a nutshell?
It's a comedy that's wrapped up in a serpentine romantic thriller.
What do you think audiences should take away from The Guru of Chai?
I think my preference for writing a play is not to prescribe what the audience should think. I'd far rather the audience left forgetting where they park their cars.
Thank you so much.